Welcome you all to this video lecture. So here in this video lecture we are going to discuss regarding to the topic the direct memory access. So from where we are going to start this direct memory access. So in the previous video lecture we discussed what regarding to the topic instruction execution, right? So from this we have an idea, which means that we know how the processor executes what an instruction. So actually, we saw the role of what are the things PC, IR, IF, decoding and executions. So from all these things, we can able to get understood that the processor communicates with the memory by using what a system bus. So address, data, and control bus, right? So now let us consider another situation, which means that we are going to get using this situation. We are going to discuss from this part. Suppose a large amount of data has to be transferred across between an IO device and the main memory. Here, thus, should the processor control every individual data transfer? If the processor involved in transferring every word, such as the large amount of processor time will be used only for the data movement, right? So, in order to solve this, which means that in order to solve this large amount of processor time, so we here the computer system uses a technique to overcome that problem is the DMA, that is the direct memory access. So the direct memory access will used is, which means that it is a method which has been used to transfer the block of data, which means that here a block of data, not a single word in with a block of data transferring data directly between what a peripheral device and the main memory, so without continuous participation of the processor. So here the unit responsible for controlling this operation is called as a direct memory controller. So while during transferring of DMA transfer, the DMA controller performs the function that would normally be performed by the processor while accessing the main memory. So without DMA, we have a flow such as from the IO devices. So from IO, it will send to the processor, P processor, so then memory, right? So with DMA, this is without DMA. So IO, processor, memory. So in with regards to that of DMA, it will performs the operations of IO, DMA controller, and memory. Right. So here this main idea is not that the processor completely disappear from this operation, which means that the processor involvement is not. I'm saying that the processor involvement is totally disappeared from this operation. So the processor initiates and controls the DMA operation through what a software. So, but the actual block of transfer is performed independently by the DMA controller. So, thing which we need to get understood that the processor involvement is also there. How it get involved means using a software. So, so automatically the actual block of transferring data is performed independently by using this DMA controller. So now the another thing which we need to get thing is why this DMA is required. So instead this processor can provide required transferring of information to a DMA controller. The DMA controller performs what the actual transfer independently. So the thing is, this DMA is particularly useful when a block of transferring of data is required by a user or the application. So simply that a block of data is the main criteria or the main thing which is considered over in this DMA. How it will get achieved using this DMA controller. So how this flow will be get appear over in the DMA transfer is, so in the DMA transfer, first the processing unit CPU will initiate what will start the direct memory access. From DMA it will transfer what an entire block. So from the entire block this CPU perform what informed after the completion. So here this DMA controller what will do, it it separate, it may separate unit, it may be a separate unit. It will shared by what, a multiple IO device, or it may be included as a part of what, IO device to interface. So the thing is, this DMA controller performs is what, a memory access function that would normally be performed by the processor. So in terms with respect to the of each way transfer, the DMA controller provides us the required memory address, and it automatically generates what, the necessary control signal. It also increments the memory address for what, the successive words, and keep track of to that of number of transfers remaining. So here, so another clear picture we are going to have with respect to this DMA controller is, from IO device, the process get initiated, then it will transfer to the DMA controller. So using that, from there it will generate what, memory address, control signal, and data transfer. These things are get been incorporated over there. So from that it will transfer to the main memory. So the next is, the thing which we need to get considered over here is the how this DMA transfer going to get transferred. So the processor normally provides us the three important core things of an information, such as the memory address, number of verses to be get transferred. So in what direction of transfer? So these things get been involved over there. So once this information is get available, automatically this DMA controller can begin the request operation independently. How it get independently do means, so the first thing is the processor, starting address, word count, next to the transfer direction, DMA controller, and DMA transfer start. So these are the things as get involved over in the how the DMA transfer get initiated. So the next is this the starting address and the word counts is. So from the starting address, it will tells us the DMA controller where the block of transfer should be get begin over there. So after to that, the next important thing is the word count. So from the word count, we going to get access over to the top. The word count specify what, how many verses have to be transferred. Suppose the processor specifies a thing of word count of 100 ways, the DMA controller keep access to the top the thing. So therefore, this DMA controller does not need the processor to tell it to transfer each individual word. This processor specify a complete block of information in advance. So the next is the direction of transfer. So the direction of transfer here, this DMA controller must know not only where the transfer starts and how much data is to be involved, but also in which direction the data should be get moved over there. So the DMA transfer operation will perform this with respect to that of how the things is, which means how the flows will get perform over that means, first the DMA starts. So direct memory access get starts. So how it will get provide the address. So then control signal generation, then transferring of word, then update address. So after that, the more data is get that is available means yes, it will do the process, repeat that process. No means it will gives the information signal as a completed. So now we need to also need to know what the thing get complete over this DMA transfer means. So the processor is free from what means the continuous involvement in the actual block transfer, and it is notified after the operation is complete. The simple technical example I can able to tell means, here the processing unit, in that processing unit, how the DMA controller get involved means using with respect to the address, counts, and directions. So after that, the DMA controller will do with respect to this address count and the directions from the IO to memory. It will transfer a block. From there, it will go access with respect to the main memory. After that, the DMA completes. Now the interrupt signal get appear means it will go to the CPU. The thing which we need to get clear picture over this from finally is a cycle stealing in the burst mode. So here the cycle stealing tells us that what the stealing of memory access cycles from a bus. This interviewing technique is called as a cycle stealing. So then the things is which we need to get recapped, or which we need to get remember, the terms is such as the DMA controller is a hardware unit that controls the transfer. First it identifies as the starting address. From it identifies the memory location where the transfer begins. Next is the word count. The word count indicates how many words must be transferred. Next is the transfer direction. So transfer direction says is what specifies the direction of data movement. After completion, the DMA controller can inform the processor by what generating an interrupt. So this is the thing which we have discussed over here. Thank you.